Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. This is part one of the series Business Process Catalog and Guidance. Today's session is Introduction to the Dynamics 365 Guidance Hub. My name is Rich Black, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams Live events. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Rachel Profitt, Principal Program Manager. Rachel, over to you to get us started.
Thanks, Rich, and thank you again, everyone, for joining us today on our Tech Talk series. I'm very excited about this series, and I hope all of you are just as excited as I am. And so we're going to be diving in today into an introduction to the Dynamics 365 Guidance Hub. Again, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rachel Profitt, and my contact information is here on the slide. I do invite you to connect with me. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see a QR code that allows you to connect with me directly on LinkedIn, but I invite you to connect with me in whatever way makes the most sense with you. I do have my email here on the slide, and you can find my blog at dynamics365lady.com. You can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn at Rachel Profitt, or you can check out my YouTube channel at Dynamics 365 Unboxed. So this is the first Tech Talk in a large series of Tech Talks that are going to dive into the details of our new Guidance Hub and business processes. Here on the slide, you can see the first 5 parts of the series that are already planned and scheduled. And so you can register for all of these and get these added to your calendar now. If you don't have them, you can add them. I posted about it on my LinkedIn earlier yesterday, so you can find it there. That's probably the easiest way. But we will also be working to add at least 15 more Tech Talks into the series for each of the end-to-end processes. Again, today's session is really just an introduction to the hub. And in our next part, which is in 2 weeks, we will be taking a look at the business processes and the catalog in more detail. And then in part 3, we're going to switch gears to how to import this into Azure DevOps and use it to manage your project scope and estimation. And then parts 4 and 5, which are happening next year in January, we'll be diving into the details of how to actually help contribute and author business processes and patterns. But let's switch gears and take a look at what we're going to cover in today's session. We're going to start out by introducing everyone to the Dynamics 365 Guidance and Other Documentation Hub. I call it the Guidance Hub for short, which is found on the Microsoft Learn site. We're going to talk through the various different types of content that are available out there, and I'll be doing a demonstration for you today how to navigate around the Guidance Hub and the different types of content that you'll find out there. We'll also take a little bit of a closer look at a few different samples of the various types of content that are available out there. We will have plenty of time for questions at the end, but we do encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A panel throughout, and we'll try to get those addressed for you. So let's get started by taking a look at an overview of what is the Guidance Hub. For those of you who are not familiar with the Guidance Hub, I'm going to kind of do a very high-level overview here, but we'll be taking a closer look at it later in today's session. So since April of 2023, earlier this year, we launched a new landing page on the Learn site. And the idea is that it's a hub for all documentation and guidance for both customers and partners to use throughout the implementation of any Dynamics 365 project. Our goal is that we want this to be the one-stop shop where you can easily find all of your content without going to many different places. This includes content and resources that don't actually live in the learn.microsoft site. And we are in a cadence where we are updating this documentation every 2 weeks. This central landing spot, which I'll be taking a closer look at with you a little bit later on in today's session, has lots of different types of content. And again, it is not specific to any one Dynamics 365 product. I do have the AKA link here on the slide, so if you're not familiar with it, I do encourage you to note this one down and give it a try, but you can navigate directly to the Guidance Hub by visiting https://aka.ms/OneGuidance. Before we dive into some more details, I want to talk a little bit about feedback and editing of the site. Your feedback is very important to us, and the only way that we can make the content better and continue improving and building more of the content that you like is with your feedback. So every page in the entire site has the ability to give feedback and make edits, and we encourage everyone in the community to contribute their knowledge and feedback so that this can be the best resource for everyone. On the left-hand side of my slide here, you can see that there are 3 easy steps to give feedback. Step 1 is to click the feedback icon, which looks like a thumbs up with the word feedback, which can be found in the upper right-hand corner of every article. This will open up a small dialog that asks, was this page helpful? You can click either the yes or the no button and optionally type in some comments and then click submit. We encourage you to give us a like if a page was helpful for you and you were able to leverage the information. But if you find an error in a page or have an issue with a page or looking to have changes made to a particular page, you can use this dialog, hit the no thumbs down button, and then type in a few comments to let us know what would make that page more helpful before you click submit. Any page can also be edited directly from that page. So in the upper right-hand corner, next to the breadcrumb bar, which is like the navigation of where that file or that page is located at in the site repository, there is a plus icon, a pencil icon, and a 3 dots. That pencil icon is your edit icon, which will actually launch into the GitHub repository. You will be required to sign in to GitHub in order to make those edits. And you'll have to click edit a second time once you're in that GitHub repository. And I'll be doing a very quick demonstration of this a little bit later on today as well. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how you can subscribe to the RSS feed. On the right-hand side is a QR code to that RSS feed. And the RSS feed is available to anyone. And what it does is it will show you the 100 most recently published articles. It's important to note that the changes can take up to a week to appear in the feed. So there's a delay between the time an article is published and the time the RSS feed is updated. This is a really useful way to stay on top of all of the information that we're posting out here. And since we are posting lots of new information, whether we're editing new pages or publishing brand new pages or modifying existing pages, that RSS feed will give you a view into exactly what has been modified. The link to that RSS feed can be found here on the screen as well. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the various different types of resources that you can find on the Guidance Hub. You might be wondering what you can find on the Guidance Hub. There are a number of new resources available in the Hub, including the new business process guidance, which we'll be spending a little bit more time on today, but that's what our entire series is all about. So if you want to learn more about the business process guidance, I do invite you to join us in the future sessions. But you can also find a variety of other new tools and resources to help you optimize your implementations. In our initial phase, when we went live with this portal earlier this year, we were focusing on tools that were specific to Dynamics 365 customer service and the Digital Contact Center platform, also known as DCCP. And in addition, we focused on a few specific resources for Dynamics 365 supply chain management by documenting some key data entities with detailed information and guidance. We're working to expand these tools and resources for all products and continue to publish new resources, like I said, every 2 weeks. In addition to the new resources that we're publishing out to the Hub, there is a plethora of existing resources that are also available in the Guidance Hub. This includes the Dynamics 365 Implementation Guide, which was converted to the Learn articles or Docs articles earlier this year. And this new format makes the content easier to search and to maintain. You'll also find links to all of our Success by Design documentation, information about the Fast Track program, and links and documentation about the Dynamics implementation portal. We also maintain a list of certifications for different roles, and we'll soon share links to self-assessments that could be relevant for your implementation project. Not to mention all the product documentation and training resources that have always been available on the Learn site can be easily accessed from this new hub page. So let's talk a little bit more in detail about some of the different types of content. By popular demand, based on the feedback that we received from the community, we have brought back the glossary. In older versions of AX 2012, we had a glossary of terms, and we have brought that back as a part of our initiative here. The glossary is cross-product, so it's not specific to any one product. And we've tried to use a business process focus with the terms and concepts that we're introducing here. The terms are organized alphabetically on the page, and we are adding new terms on a regular basis. We've been building it out somewhat organically as we publish new articles. If there are terms and concepts that we're introducing in those articles, we're trying to add those terms into the glossary. However, if you go to the page and you find that you can't find a particular term that you are looking for, we do invite you to use the feedback button to give us that feedback and suggest that we add the term. Or if you've got the expertise and want to add a term with its definition, you can give us that feedback as well. And so we encourage everyone to get involved and suggest new terms to be added to the library so that this content is as useful as possible for everyone. It's important to note that sometimes the same term might apply to multiple different products. And in that case, you'll find the term is defined one time, but we will tell you or explain underneath the definition of that term how that term is different across applications. One simple, easy example is the concept of a customer or an account. The terms are used in multiple applications and have different implications. And so when you look at a term like that, you'll see the different definitions per application underneath that particular term. Next up are the business process guides. So business process guides are exactly what this entire series of Tech Talks is going to be all about. But we're going to just give you a high-level overview today. And if you join us for the upcoming Tech Talks, we'll dive deeper into what exactly those business process guides are. The business process guides, though, are cross-product, and they're exactly what they sound like. Each article is specific to a particular business process, which is a set of tasks to meet a specific business objective, and it includes guidance on how to implement that, what the issues and considerations are, including a flowchart of how that process looks like at the most basic level with the out-of-the-box functionality. We've organized all of these business processes into 15 different end-to-end processes, and those 15 end-to-end processes and the hierarchy that you see in the guidance aligns directly to the business process catalog. The business process catalog is a spreadsheet that you can download from our GitHub repository by visiting https://aka.ms/business process catalog. And the goal is that every row in that spreadsheet will wind up with one article in the guidance hub describing that particular business process or pattern. Next, I want to switch gears and talk a little bit more in detail about the implementation guide. So the implementation guide is a conversion of the original PDF that we published as a part of the Fast Track team. If you're familiar with it, it was about 700 to 800 pages long, and we would update that PDF twice per year. It was a lot of work for us internally to maintain the big giant PDF. And it was also difficult for users to consume it. That was based on the feedback that we got from the community. So we went through a process of converting the implementation guide into Learn articles that can now be found and navigated much more easily in the Learn site. The information from the original PDF is organized by the various implementation phases. I don't recall what they all are, but we'll look at them here in just a few minutes. But they're organized by the 5 different phases, and then each chapter of the original book has a section underneath the tiles for the various phases, and each chapter is then broken down into multiple pages based on the content that's inside of that particular chapter. We'll be taking a closer look at the implementation guide as a few samples when we have a look later in my demonstration. Next up is Success by Design content. So if you're not familiar with Success by Design, you can certainly go out there, and I encourage you to do so if you're not familiar with it. But Success by Design is the framework that we use in Fast Track to help customers and partners have successful implementations. And so the overview of what is Success by Design and what is Fast Track and how does the Fast Track process work is all available out there, along with descriptions of all the workshops that we offer, as well as the solution blueprint review process. Again, if you're not familiar with Success by Design, I do encourage you to check it out, learn a little bit more. Today's session is not a deep dive into that. There are other tech talks that are available out on the community site as well about that topic, and a plethora of documentation as well available on the LearnThought site to help you learn about that. Next up is entity documentation. So I mentioned entity documentation as one of the examples of the new types of resources that we have been building. In our initial phase, all of the entity documentation is specific to finance and operations apps. And basically what we've done is we've organized the entities by their logical entities. So like importing customers is the example. And we've given you detailed information about each of the entities that are available in finance and operation apps to import customers. And so in that particular example, there's 3 different entities, and you can get those details for all 3 entities related to how to import customers. Each entity also includes information and considerations that you should use, basically describing when you should use a particular entity and how to decide which entity to use for a specific scenario. Next up are tools and resources. So these are some of the new things that you'll find out there. The tools and resources that you'll find are generally product specific, meaning that each tool is specific to one particular product. And each tool or each resource that is available out there is designed to help you solve a specific problem. And so when you look at one of these articles, it will describe the problem that the tool or resource is designed for or there to help you with. And then the article will also go on to give you detailed guidance and step-by-steps. That could include the actual installation, configuration, and use instructions depending on the type of tool or resource. Many of the tools and resources out there also have downloadable solutions or resources that you can get from our GitHub repository. So this is an example of one of the different types of tools and resources that are available. I'll be taking a closer look at some of those a little bit later on when we do our demonstration. And lastly, and this is by no means a comprehensive list of all the different links that are available out there, but these are some of the kind of high-level items that are available in the Guidance Hub. So we have links to the Fast Track Dynamics implementation portal, the product documentation, training content, and TechTalk videos are just a few examples. If you're on our Guidance Hub or you're aware of another resource that isn't available in our Guidance Hub and you're having to go to multiple different places and we've missed some content, we do invite you to give us feedback about that so that we can get that content added into the Guidance Hub. Our goal is to make it that one-stop shop so you don't have to go to lots of different places to find your content. So with that, we're going to go ahead and switch over and do a demonstration. I'm here on the Learn site already, the AKA link, and I'm just going to type it in again, aka.ms/one guidance is the URL that we're navigating to that will bring you to the page that you see me on right now. I'm going to go ahead and go full screen on this so that we've got a little bit more space. Maybe. There we go. All right. So when you first land on the Guidance Hub, you'll see a number of different tiles available. I'm going to close this Cloud Skills Challenge just to get a little bit more real estate on my screen so you can see it a little bit better. So you can navigate to this by using the AKA link that I just shared with you, or you can navigate to it from the home page within Learn. So if you're on the home page of Learn, it would look like this. You can search, but the easiest way to document or to navigate is by using the link at the top for documentation, scrolling down and selecting Dynamics 365 from the product directory. And then the third tile over, which is called Deploy Find Implementation Guidance, is what will land you on this guidance hub. Across the top of the page, you'll notice 4 links. We have the Get Started link. This takes you to product documentation that tells you how to get started with Dynamics 365. That includes things like how to install, how to get trials, things like that. The second tile is the What's New tile, and this will take you out to the Learn documentation where you can find all of the What's New articles, get to the release planner, and so on. The third tile takes you directly into our Success by Design content, and the fourth tile is Adoption, which takes you into the Adoption Framework resources. Just below that, you'll see another set of 4 tiles. The Get Started tile, I'll be clicking on a number of these links in here. We have the end-to-end business processes, the Implement tile, and the Administer tile. So starting with the Get Started tile, I'm going to click on a few of these and kind of show you what's available out here. The Introduction to Guidance page takes you into a landing page that explains what exactly can be found out on the Guidance Hub, including all the different types of content that I've been talking about. So you can see that there's descriptions of each one of those. Just below that, in the left navigation pane, you'll see the common terms and definitions. But if I go back up to the top, and I'll use my back button this time to navigate back, you'll notice that the second link on the Get Started tile is the Glossary of Terms. This takes you to that same article. So the common terms and definitions or the glossary, they have different names depending on where you navigate from. That's where you'll find the glossary. So the glossary is, like I said, is organized by the different letters. If you click on the Show 20 More, you'll see the whole alphabet. And if you want to see less, you can click on Show Less. But if you want to pop to a specific letter, you can click on the hyperlink, and that will pop you down to where that particular letter is at in the article. I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and while I'm on this page, I'm going to go ahead and quickly show you how you can provide feedback and how you can edit. So you'll notice here in the upper right-hand corner of the article is that feedback button that I told you about earlier. And so you can use this button to give us feedback. You can simply just give us a like or a dislike, and then give us a comment. We always like to hear from you. If you dislike a page and you don't tell us what you dislike about it, it's not likely that we're going to do a whole lot about it because we don't read minds. But really that easy to just click yes or no and then type in the comment and hit the submit button. I'm going to go ahead and close that and go back to the page. And across the top, you can see that breadcrumb bar that I was just talking about. I'm going to use the edit this document icon in the upper right-hand corner this time to show you how to edit. When you use the edit this article icon, you'll notice that it switches me over to the GitHub repository. It's important to note that you'll need to be signed into the GitHub repository in order to make edits. So if you don't have a GitHub account, you do need to sign up and create a free GitHub account to be able to edit. We have a lot of guidance available as well for you on how to contribute, but parts 4 and part 5 of our Tech Talk series will be diving into a lot of details about how exactly to help contribute to creating these articles. Once you've opened the article, you'll need to use that pencil icon again inside of GitHub to actually open up the article to be able to edit that article. And so now you can see I'm in the Markdown and I could actually start editing. And once you're done making those changes, you would use the Commit Changes button in the upper right-hand corner. But because I haven't actually made any changes to this article right now, the button is grayed out. I'm going to go ahead and use my back button to navigate back into the Glossary of Terms. And we're going to navigate back to the home page of the Guidance Hub. You can do that by using the top item in the table of contents, or you can use the breadcrumb bar at the top of the page, whatever is easiest for you to navigate back and forth. We do have a number of things available out here. So one of the things that I will show is the roles in Dynamics 365. So this article talks about stakeholders and the different roles that are available in Dynamics. These are definitions of the different types of stakeholders that we use throughout the documentation. And you'll notice that we do have a link down here for the available certifications for different roles in Dynamics 365. I did see that we had a question come in about a section for the certification exam preparation, like a training exams that provide feedback about which subjects we need to review deeper. This is a good resource. And when you click on a particular exam, it will tell you what courses are available out on Learn to help you get ready and prepared for an exam. All right, so I'm scrolling back up. I'm going to go back to the Guidance Hub again, and I'm going to click on a couple other things. So I'll use my end-to-end business processes as the next guide. I'll go ahead and click on Get Started underneath End-to-End Business Processes. This will bring you to a new page with tiles where we've organized the different end-to-end processes with, whether they're related to products, services, financials, or human resources. But you can drill down and navigate to those through the left navigation or through the Guidance Hub page, which I'll show you here in just a minute. But if we click on the introduction, you'll see that there's a lot of information here about the business process guide. We've also got an article that has some guidance on how to use it and another link to get to that glossary of terms. One article that I do want to call out, and we'll talk about it in more detail in future sessions, is the business processes, steps, and how to find things. We use some abbreviations and definitions, and so this gives you an example of how to read the tables that you'll find in our business processes that we are publishing. So this explains what process stages and process modifiers are and how to translate all those different abbreviations. Let's go back to the guidance documentation. I want to quickly navigate over into the implementation guide. So underneath the implement tile here at the top, I'm going to go ahead and click on the introduction to the implementation guide. And this will pop you right into the page where you can see all of the content that was converted from the original implementation guide and is now available in Learn articles. Down the left-hand side, you'll notice that they are organized by the different phases of strategize, initiate, implement, prepare, and operate. And if you expand each of the sections, you'll see the chapters underneath there. So, for example, if we go to initiate, you can see the chapter on process-focused solutions. And if you click on the link there, it'll actually take you into the first part of that particular chapter. Let's navigate back to the homepage. And I want to quickly click on Tools and Resources underneath the Implement tile. This will bring you to another landing page where you can see all the tools and resources that are available. I mentioned some of these available earlier. On this page, the tiles are organized by product. And then within those products, they're kind of grouped by the different types of resources that are available. So here underneath supply chain management, for example, you can see that we've got the links to get to the articles that are about importing customers. I'll just click on this as a quick example where you can see we've documented how to import customers. These are the 3 different entities. So you can click on one of these and it will actually navigate you over to the detailed documentation for that entity. I'm going to go back and I'm going to use another example. I'll do the setup test automation underneath the DCCP tile or the customer service tile. This is another example of an article that explains how to use Playwright for test automation with DCCP. So I'm going to go ahead and click back and go back to the Dynamics 365 Guidance Hub page, and we'll scroll down a little bit more. I'll point out the link to the implementation portal is here underneath the implement tile. If you navigate underneath the getting started, that's where you'll find tech talks and a number of other things. But as you scroll down the page, on the Guidance Hub, you'll see the implementation guide is actually available here as well. So for example, if I wanted to jump directly to that process-focused solutions chapter, I can do that right from the homepage. So if I click that link, you can see it takes me right back in. So it doesn't matter if you like to navigate the left side or if you prefer those tiles. They both work pretty much the same way, but it gives you the ability to kind of quickly navigate around. Continuing to scroll down, we have the implementation optimization resources. These are the same resources that we saw underneath tools and resources. And then we have our business processes. So here you can see that we've organized all of our business processes by those end-to-end business processes, and you can jump directly to a specific article. Like, for example, if I want to look at order to cash, I can click and drill into order to cash, and I can see that article with all of the details there, including the flow chart that has been created for that particular, along with our next steps and related resources. I'm going to go ahead and use my back button again so that I can continue scrolling down. At the bottom of our hub page, this is where you can navigate out into the Dynamics 365 documentation, training, the Power Platform documentation, the Power Platform Guidance Hub, troubleshooting guide for Dynamics 365, and our link for privacy and personal data for Dynamics 365. I do want to quickly navigate back into a page on our left navigation to point out a few more things that you'll notice along the left-hand side. So we've got the implementation guide, the tools and samples, the administration guide, security and compliance center, our end-to-end business processes, and patterns. Now, when we looked at order to cash, I'll just quickly drill down here for you. So we've got like monitor customer credit and collections, which is a level 2 article that is part of order to cash. And underneath that, we can see set customer credit limits, which is a business process. So this is a level 3 article where we have an actual flow chart with the swim lanes based on the security roles. And then at the bottom level, we have patterns. And so in this case, there's a few patterns that have been published. You'll also notice that patterns can be accessed directly from the left navigation pane underneath the patterns folder. So as more and more patterns get published, you'll be able to see those patterns listed over here on the left-hand side, but you'll also be able to see the same pattern is published underneath the business process that it's related to. As we continue to scroll down, I'm going to collapse a few of these sections. You'll also notice a folder here called Reference Architectures. This is a placeholder. There's an article that talks about what the reference architectures are all about, but soon we'll be posting new reference architectures that explain how to use multiple Dynamics 365 products together. You'll also see all of the fast track documentation is available here. And at the very bottom, we have the product documentation. So if you're in the guidance documentation, you can pop over to the documentation hub, or you can click to go to any one of the products documentation directly from here. So this makes it very easy to navigate back and forth between the product documentation and the guidance documentation. Many of our articles have links out to product-specific documentation as well, so there's a lot of cross-linking and referencing available there. All right, we're going to go ahead and switch back to our PowerPoint now, and what I want to do is take a look at a few samples. So the first sample that I want to talk a little bit about, and like this is an example of a tool that is available, and so you saw a very quick demonstration of this particular tool earlier. This was the test automation with Playwright. So this is a tool that's available for the DCCP products. And that particular article includes installation instructions, including how to install Playwright and also how to add and configure the testing tool once it's been installed. And then it has a sample test automation project. And so what that is a downloadable resource. The second hyperlink that you see here on the screen is the hyperlink that you can use to navigate into that downloadable resource, and we include instructions on how to import that. And then the article also includes some guidance on how to run those tests. So this is an example of how the structure of these tools and resources will look when you navigate to them inside of the Guidance Hub. The next example that I want to take a look at is the Solution Component Validation Sample. This is another tool that is available underneath the DCCP umbrella. And so with this particular article, it includes installation steps, the configuration steps, and a sample of the email report. Here on the screen, you can actually see a screenshot of a blurred out version of the report that hides all of the PII information. But that sample report is the output of this particular tool. You can actually get to this article with the link that is here on the bottom of the slide. And the basic idea is that we can use this tool to actually validate the components in your solution. And so if you're building and customizing customer service, you can use this tool to help validate whether or not the components inside of your tool or in your solution rather, have been added correctly. And when you run the process, the email will get generated to give you any warnings or issues that it found from its validation process. The third and last example that I wanted to take a quick look at is how to import customers. So we very briefly had a look at this in my demonstration, but the import customers is another example of a resource that is available for customers to use. And this particular one has all the details about how to import a customer. Like I said, there are 3 entities that we have for importing customers available in Finance and Operation Apps: Customers V3, Customer Definitions, and Customer Details. And so the Import Customers article, which is found in the Guidance Hub, gives you the context and problem, the details about how to import and why you would need to import, and a summary of each of the entities that are available. And when you click out to the details for one of the entities, the screenshot that you see here on my screen on the right-hand side is the customer definitions entity. And so each of the articles is structured the same way. It outlines when you should use this particular entity, a summary of it. And so you can see things in that particular table, like the actual name of it, the OData public entity name. So that's like the code name that you would use for that. You can also see what menu items are related to it, and if there's any other entities that are related to this particular entity. We've also documented for you the performance patterns for these particular entities and giving you the name of the object in the AOT. As you scroll down on those articles, you'll be able to see an actual full list of all of the fields, and not shown on the screenshot that you see here on my screen, but if you continue to scroll down, you'll see issues and considerations for use of this particular entity, as well as examples of how to use a particular entity. So these are just a few examples of the type of information and structure that you'll find. We are planning to do some additional tech talks that are about some of these specific tools and resources. So keep an eye out for those in the future. But what I want to do is switch gears to some of those resources and recommendations. So here on the slide, I've given you most of these, but some of these I have not discussed already. So the first one is the aka.ms/one guidance. This is the hyperlink that I used in my demonstration today to actually take you into the Guidance Hub. If you don't have this one bookmarked, I would strongly urge everyone to go ahead and save this one into your favorites. The second link here is the link to actually download the business process catalog. That can be found at aka.ms/business process catalog. This is the link that will let you download the Excel spreadsheet that we have available. And I just note that as of right now, if you go use this link today, it will take you to our GitHub repository. But within the next 2 weeks, we'll be migrating the business process catalog to the Microsoft Download Center. It'll still be the same file and the same resources, and we'll update them periodically, but they're just moving to a new location so that we can track the downloads a little bit better. The third link that you see here is aka.ms business process flow. Important that you don't put S on the end of it because that takes you to a different page. Singular business process flow takes you to the GitHub repository where you can actually download all of the source files for any of the process flows that are available in our business process guidance. We'll be talking more about this and like what those flows look like and how to find them in future sessions in our series, but that link is available there. I also want to point out the next link, which is business process catalog requests. That's another aka.ms link, business process catalog requests. And I actually just noticed that process is spelled incorrectly in that hyperlink on screen, so it should have two S's. We'll make sure that gets corrected before we publish the slides. But this particular link takes you into the GitHub repository into our issues tab. This is another way that you can communicate with us about your contributions, report errors, or request new features for the business process guidance or the guidance hub in general. So if you've got ideas, things that you'd like us to include, this is the best way to communicate with us about those requests and that feedback. The next link is a survey that I have created to gather feedback about the business process catalog and guidance. And it's a longer survey, so you'll need to take a few minutes of your day to fill this one out, but this is helping us shape the roadmap in future. We're trying to find out what's most important to you and what would be most useful in terms of the content that we develop and the tools that we develop. So you can use this survey to give us that feedback. We also have a link to get directly to the GitHub repository where all of our content and downloadable resources are available. So like the examples that I showed you today for the Playwright test automation and the solution validator, just as two examples. This link takes you right to the GitHub repository where those resources are at. And there's a lot of other resources available in that guidance hub as well. And if you are interested in contributing to our content, we do have a contributor guide. And so that is what our last link here is all about. That is the contributor guide. So if you're antsy and like wanting to really get in there and start helping out and contributing, we are certainly not going to say no to any help that people in the community want to give. We are excited to be announcing that we will be giving Credly badging to all of our contributors, and any article that you publish or contribute to, your name and a link to your LinkedIn profile will be put in that article. So we are crediting that work back to you so you can showcase your expertise as a community member. But remember, parts 4 and part 5 of our Tech Talk series are going to dive into this in a lot of detail. So it's important that, we stay connected. If you're not already familiar with our Fast Track Dynamics 365 company page on LinkedIn, we do invite you to get connected with us there. The recording of today's session and all other Tech Talks can be found on our YouTube page, which is at MSD365 Community on YouTube. And I encourage you, if you aren't already subscribed for upcoming Tech Talks, that you can do that by visiting aka.ms/D365 Tech Talk subscribe. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Okay, I do see somebody asked a question. The question was, what will be the frequency of updating the implementation guides articles? That is a great question. So the implementation guide articles are on a cadence to have new chapters and like new content published quarterly. If there are errors or there are specific things that you're wanting to see, we can publish those on the same every 2-week cadence that we have. But like our major updates are planned quarterly. So great question about those implementation guides. Another question that we had from the session this morning that I delivered, the same topic that I'll bring up, was somebody asked about the business process flows that are available in LCS inside of the business process modeler or the BPM. If you're not familiar, if you're not an F&O user, the Business Process Modeler is a tool that's been around since the inception of F&O applications, but it only works for finance and operations applications. And if you are familiar with F&O, likely that you are familiar with our One Dynamics, One Platform initiative, also called ODOP. And part of that initiative is that we are migrating all of the functionality out of LCS. So LCS is going to be deprecated. Much of that functionality will land in the Power Platform Admin Center. Some of that functionality will land in the Dynamics implementation portal. But we are working very actively with the product team to determine what the next iteration or the next version of the business process modeler will look like. I can say that the business process modeler, as you know it today, will not exist, moving forward once we deprecate it. But we are working to build new tools that will be architected differently, and the basis for the catalog or the list of processes will be the business process catalog that we have published. We'll talk about this more in future sessions, but I just wanted to go ahead and kind of set the stage for that if you're curious about what is happening with the business process modeler. All right, we had another question that came out. Will you keep updating the implementation guide PDF version, or will it be discontinued? As of right now, the plan is that we will keep the PDF version, but the PDF version will only be updated once per year. We may stop doing that at some point because we're not sure that it's worth it to people, especially if all that content is available on the Learn site and we're able to much more quickly adjust and update those articles than we are the PDF version. Great questions. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the chat, so I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Rich, do you want to close us out?
Yes, indeed. Thank you to Rachel for presenting today, and thank you to each of you in the audience for attending our Tech Talk today. We hope you have a fantastic day ahead.